speaking of level of interest in our lives.
Okay.
This is a good transition. How long do you pursue a guy who doesn't seem interested? I like observing people around me and learning from their stories and experiences. I have a few female friends who are currently in very happy relationships where they had to actively pursue the guy even when he wasn't showing much interest in them at all. 2 examples I'll give. One of them progressed from texting him not engaging, planning a 10-hour train journey with him, directly confessing her feelings to him not even responding to this in person, and when all else failed, she directly made out with him. They're married now with a kid, and she says he's the best father and husband she could ask for. Another friend met a guy in her dance classes. She wasn't actively trying to get him to dance with her, but he was sort of avoiding her, not showing any interest, in her own words. In the end, she just went on and asked him out on a date. He was happy about it. They went out on a date where she initiated absolutely everything, and they seemed super happy together. I understand taking initiative and showing interest in someone, hoping he'll reciprocate your interest, but how do you continue on when the guy doesn't seem that bothered? I've been learning to be more proactive, showing interest in guys, but I can't deal with it when they don't reciprocate back. For example, I added one guy on social media after meeting in person. I try to make conversation about the things he's interested in, and he replies, but without showing much interest. But then I remember all these stories of my friends, and I wonder if I need to be more forceful about it. I can't imagine asking him out if he doesn't want to even hold a longer conversation with me. What do you think about this? How do you approach these situations?
I don't know, really.
Really?
I think some guys want to be chased, which I think is what maybe accounts for the first 2 people she mentioned. Like, some guys just want a girl to go after them like that. Maybe not a lot. I don't know. I don't know much about this.
I brought this story because I wanted to just talk about like chasing things endlessly when they're not for you.
I attract. Clearly not these bitches.
Yeah. Well, okay. The
kidding.
second girl, all she said was, I kind of think the OP is reading too far into it. The first one's problematic in my opinion. I would have let that guy go.
Me too.
But the second one, it's like she's not chasing him. She shot her shot and initiated something one time, and then he did reciprocate it. So while, yes, she asked him out, that's like a one-time occurrence. And yeah, she initiated like making out with him. That's also a one-time, like that's all one. She shot her shot. It's not like it's like months of, will you go out with me? No. Or like ignoring your text.
And yeah, even if you do end up married, that's kind of embarrassing, no? Like,
yeah, like I get that feelings change, but like we should never be asking people to love us.
Yeah.
Or like convincing people why they should date us and why they should like us.
Yeah. Eek.
I think people mix up like shooting your shot and being excited and interested in someone and like chasing them endlessly and pursuing them when you're getting nothing in return.
Yeah, because that's almost disrespectful to a certain degree.
I agree.
It could get into that territory very quickly.
Yes, I agree.
So you don't want to do that.
And also, why would you want someone that doesn't want you?
Because even if they're like, fine, I'll be your boyfriend, I'll go on a date with you, whatever it may be. I'm like, but that's what you had to get that?
Yeah, not the fine, I'll go out with you.
Like 6 months of pursuing endlessly, texting, and like, no, girl, no. Have self-respect.
I think there's also a feeling of like... so many people settle in relationships, and if they can't find anyone else, they're like, well, this girl's been throwing herself at me for the past 7 months, so she's good enough. She's better than nothing.
I've said this before. I think men go for the easier option.
And
sometimes
sad.
It's the girl that just won't.
Honestly, I think everyone does that. I don't think it's just men.
No, oh yeah, but I shouldn't say that.
But yeah, like psychologically, like I do think I think with men, this is totally like just things I've heard based off of like YouTube videos, like psychologists on TikTok, like all of that. So this might not be right, but I feel like I've heard that men like keep their options open more, and women are like set on one person and they really want that one person, and men are only like that when they like actually really, really want that one person.
Yeah.
I think men are more likely to like date around than women, I guess, too. So a woman, I feel like, is more likely to meet a man and be like, yes, I love him, I need him, he's everything. And a man is more likely to have like all these options and just pick, like you said, the easiest one or like the best one based off how he's feeling today.
Yeah. Oh God.
I do feel like I've heard that from like psychologists and like
Yeah.
doctors that like study these things.
No, I definitely think that's true. And if you know, like, if you know a girl's just like been in love with you for 7 months and you're like at a point where you're like, I could settle down, like,
Yeah.
you're gonna go for that girl. Like,
Yes.
it's just what you're gonna do.
Like men pick I've heard this and it's honestly kind of sad, but men tend to pick whoever is in front of them when they're ready for a relationship. And that's just sad. So if you have to like chase a guy like that, or I guess the example would be like, this guy talked to me for 7 months and said he wasn't ready for a relationship, but like 15 months later he's engaged. And it's like, yeah, well, maybe that's not a good example of
No,
that.
I get what you're saying. Like, I get what you're saying. When you're dating someone and they won't commit to you, and then you guys end things, and then 2 years later they meet a girl and they're engaged within 6 months.
Yes.
And
okay,
you're
that's
like,
what it is.
you're convincing yourself of something like, oh, I was ugly, I was fat, I was blah 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 blah. It's like, no, she was just there in the right moment at the right time.
Yes,
for him.
that's what I meant. Yeah.
And I do think that's something men do and women don't do as much.
Yeah.
Like, men need to like have like, they need to like have their life together more, I think.
Yeah, I have heard that. Like statistically speaking.
Yeah. Whereas women will adjust their life for love, not the other way around.
Yes, I have heard that too.
Yeah.
And I think that's why women are more likely to like meet a guy. And I've also heard that women, also, this is all statistically speaking. Of course, there's anecdotal evidence of like, well, I'm a girl and I do this. Sure. That doesn't really matter when we're talking like trends.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like people, like, I don't want it to seem like I'm like attacking people when we say these things. Like,
no, I know.
So if you're a man and you don't do this, that's wonderful, but
Go off.
trends. But anyway, so I've heard that women fall in love with potential and then men fall in love with whoever she is right now. And I think that's why a lot of relationship issues happen and why it seems that like women might be settling or women might be asking so much of the man that they're with because they fell in love with who she thought he could have been if he just worked a little harder, got a little fitter, like, you know,
Yeah.
did all these things like a little bit more. Like he could be really hot if he just wore nice clothes, went to the gym. He could be really great if he just spent a little more time with his family, like worked a little harder at his job. But none of those things are definitely going to happen.
Right.
But it's easy to get caught up in potential.
Yeah.
But I guess that's like unrelated to this story. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud.
It's an interesting conversation.
I think though that all of those things play a role in what happened with the second example this person gave. I don't think is problematic. That's just shooting your shot. That's just showing interest in someone and shooting your shot.
You should do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If a man did the exact same thing, nobody would be saying he's pursuing a woman with no reciprocation. Like that was reciprocated because the person said yes. The first one, honestly, I kind of think it's problematic. Sure, they might be happy now, but I wouldn't want my like love story to be like, oh, how did you guys meet? Well, I liked him, but he wouldn't even give me the time of day. He was like using me when it was convenient and with all these other girls at this other point, but we wound up together and that's what matters. Like
after a year of nonstop DMing him.
Yeah, like you can convince anyone to like you if you try hard enough.
Exactly. Oh God.
So I don't know about the first one. And my perspective on the situation as a whole is you can shoot your shot with anyone, but be realistic and just read the room, take the hints that they're giving you.
Yeah.
Also, doesn't matter how much you like someone, it matters how they treat you.
Yeah.
So if you're obsessed with this guy and you're DMing him, asking him all these questions, trying to start conversations, okay, none of that matters because like in the story of your relationship, none of that matters because he doesn't want to talk to you. Take it for what it is and let it go. There's going to be someone that's dying to talk to you. And that's true in friendships, relationships, work, even like any relationship in life. Like you don't need to beg people to talk to you. There is going to be someone that would beg you to talk to them, but they're not going to need to because you guys are going to just vibe.
We're here for vibes. Yes.
Yeah.
Bam.